All right, Joey, your time for first crack.
Yeah, I think the first crack was North Melbourne today, or North Melbourne. I mean, it was so disappointing to me that first half with what they dished up. More with their method. Their method really surprised me. Like, I think we can tick off, particularly after quarter time. I thought their effort was pretty good. Their contest and their tackle pressure really lifted. And I like their kids. I reckon a lot of their kids had a crack. Curtis Taylor, Paul Curtis. You know, Kyron Hayden made some mistakes, but he has a crack. But the two things that stood out were their method and their senior players. Their senior players that they need to play well if they're to be any chance of winning. And I'm talking about Walker and Zeeble and Turner and Hall and Young and these guys. They just don't do enough. And that was the frustration for me, but certainly their method to allow an opposition to take 150 marks. That's unacceptable at AFL level. I thought it was really disappointing.
Yeah, that's a good call, Joe, and we'll deep dive a little bit more. But let's take a listen at David Noble post-game.
Oh, I think the first thing, we've got to play better. You know, that will give our fans a reason to come, you know, and want to come and see how our young guys are developing moving forward. We'll continue to do more work on our defence. You know, there's a number of mechanisms that I think hurt us in that space. You know, sometimes it's midfield that will create a gap. Other times it's our backs that end up creating a gap. I think the one thing that we've been disappointed with in the last month is sometimes a lack of discipline to actually just stay on your man and just defend. You just have to, you know, we were taught like those elements of our game through junior footy. Forwards play in front, you know, backs defend your man pretty tightly. But yeah, not unusual on a day like today where you have a range of players that have lower numbers, seeing that the opposition retained it. I mean, their uncontested marks hurt us a bit as well.
When we talk about AFL and we sit here and we go, prior to Melbourne getting defeated, how do you beat them? What's their system? From that system explanation of how they defend and that, Joey, where does that sit with you?
Well, it wasn't very technical. I mean, team defence these days, it's quite advanced. You're talking about referencing and guarding space and playing on opponent locating, not necessarily defenders just play on your man and, you know, lack of discipline is because you're not playing on them or forwards play in front. And they look confused to me today, the method, because there's the team defence through the middle of the ground. There were players at one stage that were as close as us. They could have held hands. They were so close to each other. Yet the defenders were playing old school 1v1. So it was disjointed right from the start. So I'm not sure what those players are getting taught because it looked completely out of whack the way that they were defending as a team.
So before we get to your vision, you're going to highlight and show us what that looks like. You're saying this is a David Noble issue at the Kangaroos right now?
Well, it's how the players are getting taught to coach. Yeah, how they're getting taught to play. So that's clearly from the coaching staff and the senior coach because you can't allow 150 marks. It looked like they weren't sure. They were on two different pages to me from what I saw from watching a lot of footy and watching the best team defences in the competition. That was nowhere near it. The way they were going. So you can just watch here, and we're highlighting Paul Larkey as a forward who's doing a lot of the chasing, but there's big gaps in a team defence. Now, if you're going to play a team defence, you've got to tighten these gaps. And this was happening all day. And you're watching the midfielders zoning. So you can see how they're not playing. But watch the defenders inside the back 50. They're playing back shoulder. So that's what's creating what David Noble spoke about, these big separations for the Giants to be able to chip the ball around. So look at the North Melbourne guarding. But then look at the defenders there, not even coming forward. They're staying back. That's a disconnect.
So we were highlighting Larkey with the same bit of vision, which is sort of comical between the three of us, really. You were at the game, we were here. So Larkey doesn't get an even chance. So he's doing all that rounding up that you spoke about. He's covering half of his kilometres just chasing tail. And then when he does get an opportunity, it's 1v2 all day. When he does get one-on-ones like that, he
looks dangerous.
He looks dangerous.
Yes.
I still can't understand how you can set the game up to defeat one of your only assets in Nick Larkey. And we've talked about this for weeks. They are not winning a game until Nick Larkey kicks six. So why would you allow that to roll on all day? I'm a little bit with you. That plan's broken. You know, you win contested possession, you win clearances, you win centre-bounds clearances, and you get smashed.
Yep.
You have 40 inside 50s. You win all those things and you have 40 inside 50s.
That's
so
the method.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, that's the method. So the effort, as I said, I thought the effort was there. Couldn't question the effort, particularly after quarter time. But the method, both offensively and defensively, still got a lot of work to do.
Well, it doesn't stack up. Like coming off the back of his press conference and watching the midfielders try and zone and locate, and then
the defenders sitting behind them inside 50. So that's why there was all that space for the Giants just to pick their way through for the whole game. That's not what an AFL standard team defence.
And I don't wear the kids discussion. They had 11 players at Giants under 50 games. Kangaroos had 10, but they got a massive issue. They got a massive issue with the number one pick. He is playing his own game at the moment.
Well, just while we're on that, we've brought the Musashi rookie watch forward thanks to our friends at Musashi because we couldn't wait around, Kingy, for the third segment.
No.
We want the number one draft pick on the spotlight.
Yeah, no, he needs to pull his head in. It's as simple as that. I know he's a star factor player, but he's abusing his teammates on field. You can see it now. There's problems with his own game that he's not really presenting his best footy, yet he's happy to spray guys that are 300 gamers. Here's Goldstein trying to tap the ball to him, which becomes a source of a heated discussion at half time. Now, if you're to learn anything at 18 years of age, going into an AFL system, you do not know the lot. You're not the finished product, so listen to players that are trying to help you. It's a massive issue in his game, and it's a real problem for this kid. From day one, that's been his mannerism. Now, I know you can say he's frustrated with them not winning, but this is abusing your teammates. And I think it's counterproductive to what the group are trying to achieve. And I wonder what they're doing down there to rein that in, because this has been a problem for 2 months now.
Well, that's a lack of respect, and we brought this up a couple of weeks ago when Heppel and Parrish had this thing. Todd Goldstein there, turn around, he's a 300, 250, 300 gamer. Turn around and listen to what he's got to say to teach you how to play. If you're number one draft pick and you disrespect someone like that, I'd be dropping you than Taron Thomas. I'll be saying, mate, you're going down to VFL football until you pick your bottom lip up and your attitude picks up, because it's unacceptable and it's week in, week out that he dishes it up.
Yeah, I'm a bit more sympathetic to him. I think that the kid's played 10 or 11 games. He's 18 years of age. He's come into an environment. We've been talking about the Kangaroos all season. It's a tough environment for him to come in. He's always been a high achiever. He's always been the best player, probably played in winning teams, and now he's finding himself in this situation. I think he's just got to mature. I think he's just got to learn.
What about this?
He's got to mature. Yeah, that's frustrating. I mean, yes, that's undisciplined, absolutely, and he's going to probably going to miss a week.
That's the end point, isn't it?
He's frustrated, yeah.
This is what happens. I mean, you've got to have to play with some composure.
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn that. I'd rather he learns that his teammates are there to help him through all these things rather than abuse them. And it's totally counterproductive. I just don't understand where this takes him. And I genuinely hope that he sits down with a Nathan Buckley, who was like this, not at this level, but was like this at the start of his AFL career, that everything had to be perfect. And it was him driving the whole boat, or steering the ship, I should say, and he wouldn't handle those around him not living that way. I think there's a bit of that about this kid.
There is.
And he wasn't the best version of himself until he did embrace that.
Yeah, and we had teammates as well that were probably like that, came in as sort of perfectionists and high achievers at 18 and probably upset the apple cart a little bit with senior players. And I mean, I think this kid, he's still young, he's still learning, he'll mature, and hopefully you're right, the club get around him and can work with him through this, because no doubt he's frustrated at the moment with probably a whole host of things, as well as his own form and how he's playing.
And if Bucks is not available, Matthew Richardson?
Yeah.
Through his career.
If you're going to abuse people, you've got to get your house in order.
Yeah.
Okay, so we see a stoppage here, forward 50 for the Giants. Your man's Canelio.
Yes.
You can't allow this to happen. This is the softest of goals. Canelio's back, by the way. Had a fantastic day again today. You saw him, Joey. Hit the scoreboard, kicked 3 goals, I think. 30-plus disposals. He's had a great patch over the last 4 to 6 weeks.
He's back to his best. He's got his running power back. He's the player that can push forward and kick goals. They're the best midfielders in the competition. We know that. He's hitting the scoreboard. He's breaking lines. He's back to absolutely when they signed him on that massive long-term deal. They're now getting what they thought they were going to get from him more often.
And I love this Giant Spike. Not sure who comes up with these names, but Mark McVeigh, Spike, the nickname. The Giants need a bit of love.
They've had a good 3 weeks, haven't they?
Great 3
I know
weeks.
it's easy to say they've played the West Coast and North Melbourne. I thought the 2.5 goal loss to Brisbane was really strong. I like what they're doing. It's a little bit different. It's relying and leaning on those senior players to show the way and get the job done, and they've responded.
And he's done it his way. He's put some players back in the midfield. He's moved Himmelberg back. He's brought in Peatling, who obviously he really liked at VFL level. He's kicked 9 goals in 3 games. Like even today, some big calls. Left out Bruce. Nick Haynes didn't play. Like he's making a statement. So he's doing everything right at the moment. The team are responding. They've got a bit more energy about them. They really should have put the foot down though in the second half today. I would have liked to have seen them to go on with it with a big sort of 60, 70 point win. But at the moment, they're doing everything they can, and they've got some more winnable games to come as well.